1997, a testing ground outside Komatsu City, Ishikawa Prefecture, central Japan. A vehicle rolls off a concrete apron and onto a dirt track. It is small, barely the footprint of a civilian Land Cruiser, wrapped in angular welded steel, riding on 4 Blackwall tyres, with a single roof hatch where a machine gun mount sits exposed to the sky. It weighs 4.5 tons, it seats 4 soldiers, it carries no fixed cannon, no missile launcher, no turret. It looks like a hardened taxi. It looked underwhelming. It looked like something a proper military would reject in favour of something heavier, something meaner, something with a gun that could punch through armour. And yet this vehicle would go on to become the most widely fielded armoured vehicle in the entire Japanese ground self-defense force. Nearly 2,000 would be built. It would deploy to Iraq, to Djibouti, to disaster zones across Japan. It would be designed light enough to drop from a transport aircraft by parachute, and fast enough to rush to contested islands before a full armoured column could arrive, and not a single one would ever be sold to anyone outside Japan. Its designation was the Komatsu Light Armoured Vehicle, and it was the machine that proved a nation could build a world-class scout car, and then forbid it from ever leaving. To understand why the Komatsu LAV existed, you need to understand the problem Japan faced in the 1990s. The Cold War was over. The Soviet threat that had defined Japanese defense planning for 4 decades had collapsed, but the world had not become safer. North Korea was accelerating its missile program. China was expanding its naval reach into the East China Sea. And Japan's ground self-defense force, the JGSDF, was still moving its infantry around in soft-skinned Toyota high-mobility vehicles and Mitsubishi Type 73 trucks, vehicles that offered zero protection against rifle fire, roadside ambushes, or fragmentation. If a single bullet could kill the driver and stop the truck, the entire squad inside was exposed. Japan needed something between a jeep and an armoured personnel carrier, something fast, light, cheap to operate, and armoured enough to stop small arms fire, something that could be loaded onto a C-130H transport or slung beneath a CH-47J Chinook helicopter, flown to a remote island in the Ryukyus, and dropped into a crisis zone within hours, not days. The Japan Defense Agency's Technical Research and Development Institute, known as TRDI, issued the requirement. Komatsu Limited, already one of Japan's largest heavy equipment manufacturers and ranked 7th among domestic defense contractors, won the development contract. Their factory designation was KU-50W. The concept was straightforward: build the smallest, lightest armoured 4x4 that could carry a fire team, survive rifle caliber hits, and fit inside every transport aircraft in the JGSDF inventory. The vehicle itself was a study in disciplined restraint. A liquid-cooled 4-cylinder diesel engine producing 160 horsepower sat mounted centre forward to balance weight across both axles. A 4-speed automatic transmission drove all 4 wheels through a full-time 4-wheel drive system. Run-flat tyres allowed the vehicle to continue moving for up to 200 kilometers after a puncture. The turning radius was tight enough for narrow Japanese mountain roads and urban side streets. Armour was welded homogeneous rolled steel, rated to stop 5.56mm and 7.62mm rounds. Bullet-resistant windows covered every aperture. For the crew of 4, the vehicle offered something no previous JGSDF armoured vehicle had ever provided: air conditioning. It sounds trivial until you consider that this machine was designed for deployment to subtropical islands, where summer temperatures exceed 35 degrees Celsius, and humidity makes enclosed steel vehicles unbearable within minutes. Armament was not fixed. The roof hatch station accepted a Sumitomo 5.56mm Minimi light machine gun, a 7.62mm general-purpose machine gun, or a 12.7mm M2 heavy machine gun. For anti-armor missions, a Type 01 light anti-tank missile could be mounted instead. The gunner sat on a suspended X-shaped sling inside the hatch, protected by an armoured shield that rotated roughly 270 degrees. Smoke discharges were optional. The total weight came in at 4.5 tons. Top speed reached 100 km per hour on paved roads. Operational range exceeded 500 km on a single tank of fuel, and critically, at 4.5 tons, the vehicle was light enough to be lashed to an aluminum cargo platform, loaded into a C-130H or a Kawasaki C1 transport, extracted by drogue parachute at altitude, and lowered to the ground under cargo canopies. The Komatsu LAV could be dropped from the sky. It was one of the few armoured vehicles on Earth designed from the outset to arrive by parachute. Now, before we get into where this vehicle actually served and why it was never sold, if you are enjoying this deep dive into Japanese military engineering, hit subscribe. It takes a second, costs nothing, and helps this channel grow. The Komatsu LAV entered service in 2002. Within 2 years, it faced its defining test. In 2004, Japan deployed the Iraq Reconstruction and Support Group to Samawa in southern Iraq. This was the most heavily armed Japanese overseas military mission since the end of World War II, and it operated under some of the most restrictive rules of engagement any deployed force had ever faced. Japanese troops were there to rebuild infrastructure, not to fight, but the security environment in Samawa was deteriorating. Mortar attacks hit the Japanese base, convoys moved through territory where improvised explosive devices were a constant threat, and the soft-skinned trucks that had served the JGSDF at home were not going to survive in Iraq. The Komatsu LAV was rushed into the deployment with modifications. Reinforced windshields replaced the standard glass. Wire cutters were mounted above the cab to defeat clothesline wires stretched across roads. An armoured tub was added around the gun mount to give the exposed gunner better protection from shrapnel and small arms fire. These were designated the Overseas Specification Vehicles, and they became the backbone of Japanese convoy and base security in Samawa from 2004 to 2006. The deployment was not without incident. In May of 2004, a negligent discharge from a vehicle-mounted Minimi caused alarm within the contingent, though no casualties resulted. In December of the same year, a crowd of demonstrators threw stones at a passing LAV patrol, breaking a side mirror, an event that triggered a formal review of engagement protocols. During the final withdrawal in June of 2006, an LAV overturned near Talil airfield in a single-vehicle road accident. 3 soldiers were injured. The cause was attributed to a road surface defect, not enemy action. The vehicle could not be righted by hand and required a crane. No Japanese soldier was killed in Iraq. The LAV had done exactly what it was designed to do: protect the crew, move fast, survive. Beyond Iraq, the Komatsu LAV deployed to Japan's anti-piracy base in Djibouti, where it provided security patrols in the extreme heat of the Horn of Africa. It was available for UN missions in South Sudan, and domestically it served in disaster relief operations, most notably during the 2011 Great East Japan earthquake, where LAVs operated in the devastated city of Ishinomaki, Miyagi Prefecture, moving through debris fields that would have immobilized unarmored vehicles. But there was one place the Komatsu LAV never went: the international market. In 1967, Japanese Prime Minister Sato Eisaku articulated the 3 principles on arms exports: banning weapons sales to communist bloc states, nations under UN arms embargoes, and countries involved in active conflicts. In 1976, Prime Minister Miki Takeo extended this into a near-total prohibition. Japan would not promote arms exports, regardless of destination. The only exception was a narrow carve-out for technology transfers to the United States. Every finished weapon, every armoured vehicle, every piece of military hardware built in Japan was built for Japan alone. For the Komatsu LAV, this meant a single customer. The JGSDF ordered approximately 1,800 units. The Air Self-Defense Force ordered another 119 for airbase security, painted in single-colour olive drab. Total production reached roughly 1,900 vehicles, and that was the entire market. Compare this to the vehicle the Komatsu LAV most closely resembles, the French Panhard VBL. The VBL is nearly identical in concept: a 4x4, 4-ton, light-armoured scout car with small arms protection and airdrop capability. But the VBL was exported to 16 nations. Over 2,600 were built. France's willingness to sell meant that development costs were spread across a global customer base, unit prices dropped, and production lines stayed open for decades. The Komatsu LAV, locked inside Japan, cost approximately 30 million yen per unit, roughly $300,000. With no exports to amortize costs, margins were thin, estimated at 2 to 3% compared to roughly 10% for Western defense manufacturers. The vehicle was profitable only as long as the JGSDF kept ordering. Against its Western rivals, the LAV held its own in several areas but fell short in others. The British Foxhound, at 7.5 tons, offered V-hull blast protection against mines and IEDs that the flat-bottomed LAV could not match. The American M1117 Guardian, at over 13 tons, carried a turreted 40mm grenade launcher and a 50 caliber machine gun. Firepower the LAV never approached. The Italian Puma 4x4 offered an integral NBC protection system and smoke discharges as standard. The Panhard VBL was fully amphibious, capable of swimming across rivers under its own power, a capability the Komatsu LAV did not possess despite some inaccurate claims to the contrary on aggregator websites. But on reliability, on crew comfort, on ease of maintenance, and on sheer availability across the JGSDF, the LAV was unmatched within its own ecosystem. Japanese soldiers knew it better than any other armoured vehicle in the inventory. It did not matter. In 2014, Prime Minister Abe Shinzo replaced the blanket export ban with the 3 principles on transfer of defence equipment and technology, permitting case-by-case arms exports under strict conditions. The door was finally open, but by then, Komatsu's defence division was already bleeding. Revenue had reached only 28 billion yen, roughly $253 million, and the company could no longer justify the investment. On February 21, 2019, Komatsu Limited announced its withdrawal from the armoured vehicle business entirely. The company that had built nearly 2,000 LAVs, the most ubiquitous armoured vehicle in the Japanese military, simply walked away. Low demand, thin margins, no export market. The liberalisation had arrived too late to save the industry it was partly designed to sustain. Japan now needs a replacement. The Acquisition, Technology and Logistics Agency entered contracts with Mitsubishi Heavy Industries and Marubeni Aerospace to evaluate 2 foreign candidates, the Thales Australia Hawkeye and the GDLS Moag Eagle. Both were imported for trials. Both cost approximately 3 times the price of a Komatsu LAV. Both are larger and heavier, raising concerns about operability on narrow Japanese roads. As of 2025, the competition had stalled, with the Ministry of Defence reportedly examining armoured civilian vehicles as interim options, and Turkish manufacturers showing interest. The initial requirement stands at roughly 1,000 vehicles. Japan must now import what it once built. 1997. A testing ground outside Komatsu City. A small angular vehicle rolls onto a dirt track, 4.5 tons, 4 wheels, no turret, no cannon, a machine gun on the roof and air conditioning inside. It had no amphibious capability, no mine-resistant hull, no integrated NBC system. It was never the fastest, the best armed, or the most protected scout car in its class, and yet it worked. In the heat of Samoa, in the dust of Djibouti, in the rubble of Ishinomaki, on the runways of airbases from Hokkaido to Okinawa, the Komatsu LAV did what it was asked to do. It protected its crew. It arrived fast. It survived. Nearly 2,000 were built. Not one was exported. The company that made them no longer builds armoured vehicles. The nation that fielded them must now buy its replacement from abroad at 3 times the cost, from factories that sell to the world. The Komatsu LAV was not killed by a design flaw, or a battlefield failure, or a rival that outperformed it. It was killed by a policy that made it illegal to sell, and an industrial model that made it impossible to sustain. Japan built a machine that could be dropped from the sky, and then chained it to the ground. That is not a failure of engineering. That is the price of self-imposed isolation in a global arms market.